My name is Chad Trapinski. I'm the Regional Grant Administrator for Regions 9 and 10. Today I will be discussing the eLogic Model Processing module. What is the eLogic Model? The eLogic Model is a tool that integrates program operations and program accountability. The eLogic Model can be used to manage, monitor, and evaluate program services. The eLogic Model can be used to internally monitor activity in addition to its use as a reporting tool. The eLogic Model can provide a real-time snapshot of a grantee's program and performance. The eLogic Model identifies the relationship between the service and the intended outcome. Retrieving the eLogic Model. The best option for a field office to retrieve an eLogic Model is through an internal HUD subsystem. An internal HUD subsystem can vary from year to year, but they typically include GEMS2 or the GMCK drive or the CRT system. A second option is that field offices may request that the grantee send the eLogic Model that they submitted with their grant application to the field office via email. Saving the eLogic Model. An eLogic Model, after it has been retrieved, should be renamed 32 characters or less and resaved onto the local drive, such as the J drive or the My Documents folder or computer desktop for future reference and reporting purposes by the grantee. Acceptable naming conventions for resaving are PHA name, grant type, grant year, or grant year, grant type, PHA name. It's important to note that the GMC or headquarters or the regional grant administrators do not review or approve the eLogic Model. Final approval and acceptance of the eLogic Model is the responsibility of the field office. Grant negotiation phase. At grant agreement phase, when processing the Form HUD 1044 and the grant agreement, the field office must ensure that an eLogic Model is properly completed and work with the grantee if revisions are needed. As mentioned before, headquarters of the GMC does not approve the eLogic Model. Just because a PHA was awarded a grant does not mean that the eLogic Model is acceptable. It's the responsibility of the field office to ensure that the eLogic Model submitted with the grant application is acceptable. Only grantees should make changes to their eLogic Model. In the event that the grantee and the field office agree that an update or change is needed to the original eLogic Model, the field office must work with the grantee to make those changes and approve those changes. Once finalized, the same eLogic Model should be used for the duration of the grant cycle. Now I'm going to highlight 3 critical tabs on the eLogic Model that the field office should be reviewing at grant application period and also the reporting period. The first tab that must be reviewed by the field office is the Coversheet tab. The Coversheet tab contains required fields that must be answered by the grantee at the time of grant application. A field office should never approve an eLogic Model where required fields remain unanswered. The Year 1 tab. The ROS Service Coordinator and the ROS FSS grant must have proposed activities listed in the Year 1 tab. For each proposed activity or service, there must be a numerical data associated with that service or activity. Also, the outcome column. The outcome column contains outcomes that are the result of a particular service or activity. Again, there must be a numerical value or data associated with the outcome column. So what are the proposed activities that a grantee might list on an eLogic Model, and how should they be listed? The simplest and most basic way to complete an eLogic Model is by listing one service that is associated with one outcome. For example, a job creation employment might result in a job creation and employment or wages. It's a one-for-one association, whereas one service or activity equals one outcome. Another avenue that a grantee may take in completing the eLogic Model is by listing one service with many outcomes. For example, A life skills training, self-improvement programs may result in job training completion, or school, or GED. Another method that a grantee may take and complete in the eLogic model is by listing multiple services or activities that yield one outcome. For example, a life skills training in addition to GED training, in addition to job training, in addition to employment or supportive services, results in one job creation or employment and an increase in wages. Post column. At the time of annual report and final report, a grantee must identify the results from the proposed activities in the post column. The post column is an opportunity for the grantee to showcase their achievements and accomplishments during the cycle of the grant. For every proposed activity listed in the pre-column, there must be a post-column data or value entered. The Reporting tab. Since the inception of the grant, the grantee is responsible for tracking their responses to the management questions. Management questions are narrative questions that grantees must answer at annual or final reporting period. Responses to the management questions should be listed in a numerical response only. A field office should never accept responses to management questions that contain alpha characters or special characters. eLogic model reporting. Grantees must email a completed eLogic model to the field office at the annual reporting periods and a final report when the grant expires or after grant funds are fully expended. The field office must review the eLogic model reports for completeness and ensure that the annual report or final report is uploaded to SharePoint. eLogic model common errors and rejections. There's a variety of common errors that may cause an eLogic model to be rejected from the SharePoint site. First, a bad template. A PHA or a grantee should never use the wrong fiscal year template when completing an eLogic model. For example, when submitting a final report for the fiscal year 12 grant, they must use a fiscal year 12 template. Modified template. A PHA or grantee should never modify the eLogic model worksheet or workbook. File name too long. The field office must rename the eLogic model before saving it to their local network drive to be 32 characters or less. It's critical that the field office rename the eLogic model 32 characters or less, or else it will be rejected from the SharePoint site. Unanswered required fields in eLogic model. The field office is responsible for reviewing all required fields in the eLogic model. That being that there's data associated in the pre-column and post-column, that the management questions are answered, that the Coversheet tab contains the applicant name and DUNS number, etc. Modifying the Reporting tab. The management questions on the Reporting tab should never be modified. They should always contain only a numerical value associated with the management question. Helpful tip: retain an eLogic model template. It's important that the field office take the time during the open grant period to download a blank eLogic model template from grants.gov. Once you have a downloaded blank eLogic model template saved onto your local network drive, you can always work with grantees who need to revise or change their original eLogic model template. That concludes the overview of the eLogic model processing. Thank you.